A little over a year ago today, I was doing my military conscription service way up in the north of Sweden. One thing I remember from this time in my life are these night land navigation exercises we used to do. I really hated them. They sent us out in the deep, dark, murky forests of northern Sweden with an old wrinkly map and an old compass that hopefully, if you're lucky, still pointed to the north. I remember once during one of these exercises I got completely lost. I was out in a large mire looking for a control point that in reality was probably over 10 kilometers away. I was cold, I was wet, and I had not seen a single person for probably over 6 hours. And if I'm being completely honest, I was a bit scared. Negative thoughts were creeping up on me as I stumbled around there in the dark, not knowing where I was or which direction to go. Well, I did eventually make it back. I found a small brook or stream that sort of headed in the right direction, which I could then follow to a road. But I think, looking back to that day, I did learn something about the power of being comfortable with getting lost. According to some psychologists, this is one of the most common worries they encounter among people of all ages. To feel one has no clear direction and questioning your own choices. Now, I'm a true expert when it comes to this. I have tons of first-hand experience. But the questioning if this is really the right program for me or school for me, or if it's during a few of the lectures we had here, I often feel completely lost. That's why you can trust me on this topic. No one has less of an idea about what you're doing than me. And I'm of the strong opinion that there's nothing bad about this. Only through embracing feeling lost in life can we truly allow ourselves to explore, to find out what we really want to do. I think we have all met the stereotypical SSE student at some point during our time here. It's a hardworking person, very smart, very confident, but most of all, he or she is a person with a plan. A goal in mind for which they are fully willing to sacrifice today's pleasure and comfort in hope of obtaining. They know which courses they should prioritize, which committee to work in, and what internship to seek out. Armed with their Patagonia vest and Excel spreadsheet, they are ready to take on the world. And this is fine. If you think you know what you really want to do in life, go for it. But perhaps there is another advantage to not having a plan, to not having a strict goal. One 2015 dissertation from Cornell in Organizational Behavior points out the importance of creativity in organizational success, and pinpoints the #1 obstacle to creativity as people having too much of a structured and constrained way of thinking. Being a cold, detached, purely rational and calculated person does not seem to be ideal, even if your goal is just to advance your career. Now, I know what you're thinking, and yes, our engineering friends over at KTH tend to do very well despite this fact, but it seems we could all benefit from being a bit more creative. In the study, remedies for this are suggested to be perspective-shifting activities such as living abroad. I think this strengthens my argument. Getting lost in life and perhaps choosing to diverge from your path might be necessary to shift your perspectives and become more creative. Think about it. When did you last do something truly spontaneous? Something out of character for you that enabled you to think in new terms or try new things? As students, our possibilities for this are seemingly endless. Unfettered by work and commitment, each day holds this possibility. And yet we often find ourselves sticking to our plan, grinding away at our daily routine. It doesn't have to be like this. By allowing ourselves to get lost in new situations, we can render our perspectives more adaptable and fluid. I remember my first day here at SSE well. How I walked through the oak door, disoriented and confused by shouting and music. I was told to run, and so I set off towards the aula for my first time. Right then, I was feeling lost, launched into a new environment about which I knew very little. Whether it's an exciting experience like starting a new school, full of anticipation, or a disruptive and challenging event like maybe losing your job. We all find ourselves lost and alone in the woods at some point in our life. Whether we like it or not, we all have to deal with such circumstances. Then how do we do this? How do we gain comfort in such uncomfortable situations? One way that you may have heard of is called growth mindset. This is an idea that has gained quite reputable support in the scientific literature over recent years. The basic concept is that you should adopt an attitude towards your stress that it is growing rather than debilitating you. The stressor is growing you. Through reflecting on the growing benefits of feeling lost, we can perhaps become more comfortable with our situation. Feeling lost in life is scary. It may look like everyone else has it all figured out. When we open Instagram, we are met with the smiling and confident faces of people who undoubtedly appear like they know what they're doing. On LinkedIn, we are presented with the seemingly straight and linear progress of our peers. Against this, our own road may look overly bumpy and crooked, lacking the structure and glamour we so often find on social media. But what if, instead of comparing ourselves to others, we embraced the unexpected twists and turns our route offers? What if we could view an unexpected turn not as taking us further from some imagined end state, but as growing us to becoming more complete? I recently had this experience when deciding if I should give this talk or not. I got into an argument. It got quite heated, a bit aggressive. It was against my own brain. I was very keen on the idea of giving the speech, but my brain was, understandably, a bit hesitant about stepping out in front of all these people. Well, I did eventually win that argument against my brain, and I would like to talk to you about how you can win the argument against your own brains as well. I think that what it really boils down to is fear. Fear can make us overly cautious. If we become too concerned with the negative impact straying from our chosen path might have, I think we risk missing out on more opportunities than we avoid potential adversities. Life is simply too short for that. Because while fear may hold us back, I think there should be something even more compelling, propelling us forward. The awareness of our own mortality. When did you guys first think about death? The inevitability of it, its finality? I remember exactly when I first started to think about death. I was 10 years old, walking to the local grocery shop in the small town I grew up in. I was a bit bored and my eyes sort of drifted to the side of the road where my local cemetery was. And that's when I first noticed a sign that hangs over the entrance there. It looked like this. It reads simply, "Tänk på döden," or in English, "Think about death." Now, as a 10-year-old boy, what I mostly wondered about was why. Why was the designer of this sign so keen on ambushing innocent, unsuspecting bypassers with thoughts of death? At the time, this was a mystery to me, which I eventually dismissed as just one of those weird things adults did. It wasn't until later that I would really begin to comprehend the utility of this proposition. Reading about the Stoics of classical antiquity and the emperor and philosopher Marcus Aurelius, for example, who once said, "Let each thing you would do, say, or intend be like that of a dying person." The idea is quite simple. Live as if you could die tomorrow. Just like the Stoics of classical antiquity, the designer of this sign knew that only through embracing each opportunity, as if death could come at any moment, can we limit regret. I have found that when you put this perspective in your life, straying from your path doesn't seem that daunting anymore. The risk of exploring, moving abroad, taking on a new challenge, or asking out that boy or girl becomes incomprehensibly small against the risk of not having explored, of not having lived. Think about it. What is really your largest regret in life? Well, turns out there's actually pretty good data on this. One meta-analysis of 11 different studies looked at what people's largest regrets were and came to the conclusion that rarely do we regret doing things. Rather, our regrets tend to be those of inaction, of failing to seize opportunities or try new things. Of course, there will always be paths we didn't explore, prospects that slipped away, and reality can seldom rival the infinite possibilities of the hypothetical. But I firmly believe that the approach of exploring, confident with getting lost on the way, can at the very least allow us to be more assured in the path we do end up on. The American naturalist and author Henry David Thoreau once wrote in his famous book Walden, "Not till we are lost, in other words, not till we have lost the world, do we begin to realize who we are and the infinite extent of our relations." I think this captures what getting lost in life is ultimately about. Stripping away our clear paths and structure forces us to look inward, to evaluate what we really want to do. Next time you're confronted with a decision in life where you have to balance stability against exploration, a summer of internships and work against one of new and unique experiences, perhaps you should consider this and think about what really allows you to reach your full potential. I often reflect on that cold night during my conscription service where I lost my bearings. I tried following many different crooks and breaks and streams that night before I found the right one. And that's all right. Whether it's relationships or career, not every path we take in life will be correct. But I believe that being comfortable with getting lost is simply about trusting that eventually you will find that little stream that is going to lead you back on path. Thank you.